I'm a little late to the game, okay? And I've been looking for something that I can just sit down and just watch, for hours at a time, waste my life away while still enjoying myself. And I finally found it in The Walking Dead. 11 seasons.
So 11 seasons of television
years.
across 13 years. It's got 193 issues of the comics.
177 episodes.
For today's topic, we're talking pretty much solely about the first season of The Walking Dead. We're talking about where you are. This is our Halloween episode. So happy spooky season, everybody. This is the closest I get to getting Arron to watch horror.
Welcome to Backseat Directing,
where we talk about movies, TV shows, comics, and more.
We're your hosts,
Andrew
and Arron.
We put out new episodes every Monday and Thursday.
And on this episode, we're talking about The Walking Dead.
3, 2, 1, action.
Ooh, we're finally talking about The Walking Dead because I finally started watching it.
Yeah, Arron, you just got on that issue, that trend. What, like 15 years late?
14 years late.
Oh,
came out in 2010.
Excuse me.
So yeah, I'm a little late to the game. Okay.
So The Walking Dead has a long storied history of storytelling. I'm trying to look into it right now.
11 seasons.
So 11 seasons of television.
Years.
Across 13 years. It's got 193 issues of the comics.
177 episodes.
Goodness. And then they were working on a movie at one point with Andrew Lincoln and Michonne.
Oh, really?
Yeah, which I think they turned into like a long format, like a short season.
Okay.
But they have multiple spin-off series. They have the series with Negan and Maggie. They have Fear the Walking Dead and others. So it's insanely lucrative and insanely popular piece of television and media content history that was well received. You don't do a 193 issue run of comics that aren't incredibly successful. Yeah. They don't let you keep printing those.
Absolutely.
I've read all of them.
Who made them?
Robert Kirkman, the GOAT.
the one and only.
The legend of legends. So we don't have those comics here with us today. They're back at my house. So you can see in front of Arron, we have the Invincible compendiums. Imagine this, but with a fourth book on top of it. That's how many issues there are for The Walking Dead. There's 4 compendiums. When Arron's, feels like it, he'll move on to reading those. I personally think the comics are even better. I think Rick's character development is even better in the comics. I think Andrea's is so much better. Andrea is nothing in the show compared to what she is in the comics.
Yeah, she's probably my least favorite.
But if you read the comics, she's like my favorite character in the comics, like above Rick.
Oh, wow.
She's really awesome in the comics. But Rick is my second favorite character, and I think Andrew Lincoln portrays him gloriously for the screen. I love him. I love his Southern accent because he's actually British. Did you know that about Andrew Lincoln?
No.
He's in Love, Actually, where you can hear his real accent. But he is a phenomenal actor, and I personally love the show. I've seen many seasons. I quit.
Have you not seen them all?
I quit in like season 8.
Oh.
8 or 9.
Oh.
But for today's topic, we're talking pretty much solely about the first season of The Walking Dead. We're talking about where you are. This is our Halloween episode. So happy spooky season, everybody. This is the closest I get to getting Arron to watch horror. So since we're dealing with zombies, we're dealing with horror, blood and gore. This is our Halloween episode. Harkening back to what, like 2010?
That's when it came out, yeah.
Yeah, man, I was spot on. I didn't even look that up, swear to God.
Dude, I literally just said it.
Oh, I wasn't listening.
3 minutes ago.
You said 13 seasons. You said 2010?
Yeah, I said it came out in 2010 because you were like 15 years, and I said 14 because came out in 2010. You're like, oh, okay.
Maybe I heard you subconsciously.
I said 13 years because it stopped in 2022.
Yeah, so 2010. So
I just did that all on my own.
We're trending.
I know all. You idiot.
Watch back on camera. I wasn't paying attention to you. If so,
you have one job
to pay attention to you.
Is to talk with me.
No,
is to listen to what I'm saying.
On my phone at some point, Googling the amount of issues.
Jeez, man.
But
so unprofessional.
We're transporting back to 2010 when I was 11. and talking about when the first season of The Walking Dead, when it came out, it rocked audiences. It was huge. I remember being confused when it came out. Like, why is the zombie show so big? Like, why is it just people just shooting zombies? In my mind at that age, I was thinking zombie movies were just basically a compilation of people shooting at people in makeup.
Camp.
And I did not understand the level of storytelling and drama that was within The Walking Dead. So if you haven't watched it, we will probably get into spoiling the first season here in a few minutes. And it has
maybe even a little further.
yeah, Aaron's into season 2. So just keep that in mind because the story, I think, is truly exceptional. Especially in the comics, I recommend going and reading them. The easiest way I recommend is picking up the compendiums because there's so many issues. You can get them on Amazon for fairly cheap. And they usually compendiums contain like
A lot. 40
Yeah,
or
40
so
issues.
plus.
But that first season, Aaron, give us your broad stroke thoughts. Actually, before you do, thank you guys for clicking on this. I do want to thank you for being subscribed if you are. And if you aren't, please make sure to hit that subscription button and the notification bell and share us with a friend because it's the best way to help the show grow organically. But now, let's turn our attention to our friend Aaron here and his thoughts on the first season of The Walking Dead.
Outside of The Boys this year, I haven't really watched a lot of TV shows. And I've been looking for something that I can just sit down and just watch, for hours at a time, waste my life away while still enjoying myself. And I finally found it in The Walking Dead. I put it on last week and I'm already on season 2. It's a great show. I'm really enjoying the characters, the world. I'm slowly learning more and more information about how things come to be, what the backstory of these characters are. I think all of the zombies themselves look phenomenal. The gunshots on the zombies and the stabs and the hits. Sometimes I'm like, how did they even do that? Because they're walking 1 second and then the next second their head's off and it looks so freaking good. And something that I really enjoy about the show too is that they're on location for every single set. And I feel like we just don't see that anymore in TV shows with the popularization of like the volume and the LED backgrounds, also like green screen work, blue screen work has really been kind of the mainstay of a lot of shows lately. And it's kind of refreshing to feel really grounded in this real life location. The set designs for all these places are phenomenal. They've gone to so many places already when they were traveling through Atlanta. And then once they got to this farm in season 2, I'm really enjoying it so far. And the thing that I'm comparing it to directly is The Last of Us, of course, because that's another zombie show that is pretty similar in a sense. So I'm interested to hear like kind of what your take is on the two in comparison. But yeah, that's my overall thoughts so far, season 1 into season 2 of The Walking Dead.
Yeah, I think that for me, one of the main differences between The Last of Us, other than it being just only having 1 season so far, but one of the main differences between The Last of Us and The Walking Dead is The Last of Us is like this very minute version of The Walking Dead where we only are focusing on 2 characters. We have other characters enter in and out of the story basically episodically, but it largely focuses on the relationship between Joel and Ellie. Whereas what I love about the Walking Dead universe and what I love about Robert Kirkman's stories, whether it be in his comics or his shows, is that he does such a good job of creating unique, interesting, and lovable characters or hateable characters like Omni-Man at the end of season 1 of Invincible. But you can't just have interesting characters. You have to put them into interesting scenarios. And I feel like he does such an excellent job of this. And when you look at the credits for the show, so The Walking Dead, the TV series, obviously the way TV shows work, different episodes written by different people, produced by different people, directed by different people. So, Robert Kirkman has executive produced 177 episodes of The Walking Dead, which sounds like every episode of the show.
Yeah.
Frank Darabont has also produced, directed, and written for the show. Frank Darabont famously wrote and directed Shawshank Redemption, which is largely considered the greatest movie of all time. It's the highest rated movie on IMDb. It's the movie that most people like the most. If you're going by utilitarianism, that might be the best movie of all time. And he was heavily involved with the first season of The Walking Dead. So they do such a good job of building these characters, which already had heavy, well-written backgrounds in the comics, like Glenn, like Carol, Andrea, Rick, Shane, Lori, Carl, like they do great characters, but the scenarios I think are key to highlighting what makes the characters interesting. Seeing Rick, the way he responds to different scenarios in the first season, even the first couple episodes, I love how when he arrives to the city, like most people would think he's trying to head to a populated area, look for resources. He doesn't know what the world's like. He goes into Atlanta and the city's overrun, so he has to think quick. The number one key trait of Rick Grimes in my eyes is that he is a survivor. He thinks quick on his feet, he gets out of scenarios, and he does what he has to do to survive. So you'll see later he's more than willing to get his hands dirty, but he's a survivor. He gets underneath that tank.
He's a protector.
Yeah. He gets inside the tank. Glenn's able to save him, get him out of that tight situation. They get up on the roof. Now they have to find another creative decision. We got all these people stuck on a roof with Merle there. Merle's a danger. What do? So it's just interesting situations. They end up handcuffing Merle. I think Glenn gets in the, what is it, like a Camaro or something, Mustang. He gets in
Charger or Challenger.
Yeah, I was off both my guesses. So he gets in a car, the siren off, and leads the walkers away so the rest of them can escape. They have creative solutions. That's what I was missing about the show. Like I said, when I heard about the concept, it's not just people shooting zombies. It's dynamics. It's relationships. It's Rick coming back to find that something's off with his relationship with his wife because his best friend and his wife assumed he was dead. It's that relationship dynamic and so much more,
which adds so much tension to
because it's not
the season.
There's an overlying tension that's felt throughout probably the entire series. At some moments it's less when they're well protected, but there's that tension that a walker is going to come in out of nowhere, or a horde of walkers, and there's going to be instant danger. So there's a tension that somebody might be bitten, but then there's that dramatic relationship tension underlying everything as well. It's what makes the show so good. And I just love the writing in terms of like Glenn, they're having to talk Glenn into doing this thing. Glenn's like, he's like this scrawny young guy on the team, but he's also, he's spry and he's quick and he's clever, and he puts himself into dangerous situations. Like you were watching at one point when I was talking to you, you were watching the part in the well.
Yeah.
Glenn's the first person they put into a tight spot because Glenn gets out of these tight spots.
Walker bait.
Yeah, Walker bait. But man, it's something about that first season. It feels looser than some of the other season in terms of like the structure and the locations, because they're more transient in that first season. They're like trying to find a cure and trying to find the CDC or whatever it is. Mm-hmm. So they definitely feel less locked down in that first season.
Yeah.
The rest of the seasons have more of a distinct setting, but it doesn't feel incoherent. It has that drive to find the CDC pretty much from like, I think the second episode on. And then so many subplots, like the tension between Daryl and Rick over locking Merle and leaving him on the roof. That relationship grows so well. The relationship between Rick and Glenn. Dude, this is 13 seasons. Like by the time you get a couple more seasons in, you're going to see so much change, not just for the individual characters, but for the relationships. And I love the fact that Robert Kirkman is invited to work on these shows, because Robert Kirkman also heavily works on writing and producing for Invincible, the TV series. That's why we see so many of the actors brought over from The Walking Dead to Invincible. The crossover is like insane. I'll pull it up to read to you guys. What are your thoughts?
I like John Berthel even more.
Oh yeah,
as an actor.
Rick.
Yeah.
Rick.
It's really good. Their dynamic, Sean and Rick, is great. They do such
Shane.
They do such a good job at balancing this ensemble of a cast. Like you said, The Last of Us is mainly just two people, and that's what we're focused on, is their relationship study throughout this world-ending event. But in this show, The Walking Dead, there's like 11 people that we're following, and all of them have in-depth, complex things going on in their life that we find out and learn about. Even in the first few episodes, the family with the boy, or the guy with the boy who find him at his house first, and then he's going to shoot his wife as who's now a walker.
Yeah,
like. That's really emotional. And I like how they keep coming back to it. Like, we hadn't seen him since like episode 2. And then in the beginning of season 2, he's walking him, trying to get a hold of him, telling him, hey, like, it's not safe. We're going here, blah, blah, blah. You know,
It's
so
very real in that sense because that's the first person he met, and that's the first person who talked to him and caught him up to speed on all this
yeah,
stuff. You wouldn't just forget about this person.
yeah.
So
And in season 2, they looked for that little girl for like 6 episodes. You know, like it's not like just a one episode and done kind of situation.
Yeah.
You know, some things get resolved in one episode, but a lot of things carry out, and that's what keeps you involved. There's always new things happening.
When he's looking for the girl, Daryl, when he's looking for the girl, is that when he comes back with like the necklace?
Yeah, the ears.
Yeah, with Walker ears. I didn't want to say it in case I haven't seen these seasons in years.
Yeah.
There was something else I wanted to ask you about the first season. You know how Carol has an abusive husband
Mhm.
in the first season? Who is it that like deals with that? Does
Sean.
Shane?
Shane.
Sean on the mind, dude.
Yeah.
Who's Sean? Aaron's got a crush on somebody named Sean. Oh, were you watching Psych too? Sean Spencer?
Yeah. I've been watching Psych.
So I found the actors. I want to circle back to this because if I heard somebody say it on a podcast, I'd want them to circle
Yeah.
back. So obviously Robert Kirkman's worked on both. Here's the people that have brought over between shows. All these actors are voice actors on Invincible and actors on The Walking Dead as well. Sonequa Martin Green, Stephen Yun, Lauren Cohen, Ross Marquand, Chad Coleman, Michael Kudlitz, Carrie Payton, and David Alpert. That's a lot of people.
That is a lot of people.
So Stephen Yeun obviously plays Glenn and then plays the main character in Invincible. He plays Mark Grayson in Invincible. So I'd say like that's the biggest one to cross over.
Yeah. Yeah. Shane is the one who deals with the husband.
Which like somebody had to deal with that. Dude.
Because he beat him up, but then a walker
bit him, right?
bit him. So then
They left him behind. Right. I think they drove away and left him.
yeah, what happened?
I think they let him turn.
Yeah. Well, they don't turn right away, right?
Yeah, no.
So I don't remember exactly
I know why they don't turn right away, but I can't tell
how
you
he
yet.
finished. Yeah.
I can't. Oh no, I can tell you. You've watched that in the first season. So
Yeah, they're
everyone's infected.
Yep, I didn't know that.
That's not in the end of the first season?
No. Didn't know that.
I should be talking to you.
Yeah, that was that seemed like it was a big moment right there.
That might be like multiple seasons ahead of you. Actually, that might be like 3 to 4 seasons ahead of you.
Well, thank you. I'm glad.
Well, we can talk about.
I would have figured that out eventually.
You knew that on some instinctual level.
Yeah, I knew. I got it all figured out.
For a second I thought they figured that out the CDC, but I guess not.
When they went to the CDC, they saw the scan of the brain and they saw like all the pathways in the brain, and then they see that shut down and it all goes black, and then they see it like turn back on and it's like red impulses instead of blue or whatever, but it only like stays in one local spot. And then we saw like the gunshot going through of the doctor killing.
Okay, so they didn't like explain.
They don't know. I don't know anything about the disease or how it spread or anything other than if you get bit, then you turn. They were talking about when they were putting like all the blood on them to like walk through the crowd. They were talking like, "Oh, don't get it on your skin," and then they got it on their skin like a bunch of times. So it must not be transmitted through blood, just bites. I guess is the only way that
you'll figure it all out later.
Yeah.
There's more to it. It's more complicated.
Yeah.
But so
thank you for that.
Of course.
Appreciate that.
So
it's better that I hear it from you,
a friend.
You know.
So what do you think about the relationship between the love triangle between Lori, Rick, and Shane?
Ooh, it's a tough situation.
Who do you want her to end up with?
Oh, I like them both, but it doesn't seem like Lori loves Rick anymore, even before all of this stuff went down, and that's just a tough situation to be in.
He's so lovable.
He is.
What does she not love about him?
I'd be with him.
Rick is such a good character. He's one of my favorite characters in like all of fiction. So.
Yeah. I feel like you say that a lot, but I know that that's been up there for you. Man, it's tough. I don't think Shane did anything wrong necessarily, at least before Rick got there. You know, I mean, he left him there, but like, what was he going to do? How was he supposed to save him, you know?
Rick would have got him out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't really fault him for that. So now that you're in season 2, how does it compare to season 1?
I liked the instability in season 1, where they're not safe anywhere they go, and there's a lot of tension of like, where are we gonna be, and how can we get out of this situation?
It just feels more dangerous being in a tent on the side of the road in an RV than having a
Right.
stable environment.
We saw a lot more walkers in season 1, a lot in comparison to The Walking Dead season 2, but also The Last of Us.
Yeah, that's a large complaint with season 2 of it being slower, less action, less walkers. So I do
I
think
still think the story's like going pretty well. I was thinking like I'm on probably episode 7. I might have just finished yesterday. But I was thinking like 3 or 4 episodes into the show, like, okay, they're looking for this girl for a long time.
Yeah.
You know, like, at what point do you move on? You know what I'm saying? Not even just for like in the show, like when do these characters move on, but like for our entertainment, like, all right, when can we go to the next
hey, you
thing?
just
Like,
complimented them for that.
yeah.
Have you seen how do I not spoil this? Is there any other drama on the farm other than the well and the girl going missing?
So we found out that Otis, is it no Herschel,
Yeah.
is the character who owns this land or is in charge of this land, however you want to say it, and he believes that the infection is that they're still people, that they're not actually dying. And our group with Rick and Shane and Lori and all of them believe that they die and then come back as these walkers, these zombies. And since he thinks that they're still people, he has a herd of them in his barn, which are all of his family members and close friends that got infected, that he's hoping that they can find a cure for, even though they're not going and looking for a cure. They're just waiting for the government to figure it out for them. And then the characters slowly started finding out about this barn, and all these walkers inside of it. And then the episode that I watched last night was where Shane saw Rick and Herschel bringing back 2 walkers on like a chain to bring them to this barn because they're going to treat them as people who are sick. And Shane was already starting to get everyone to grab their guns and they're going to go look for this girl and all this stuff. And then they see that walking up, or them walking up with the 2 walkers. So Shane runs down and he shoots them. And he's like, look, is someone alive able to survive that? And then he shoots that one in the face. And then he does his Punisher roar and goes over to the barn and starts opening up the door. And then these 15 to 20 plus walkers come walking out and he's just lining up, shooting them down, and then everyone else joins in and shoots them down, and Rick's like, no, no.
Rick's a peacekeeper.
And then he's like, Herschel, grab this pole for me, and Herschel's just sitting there like, I don't know what to do. And then they kill all of the walkers, and then at the very end, the little girl walks out of the barn, and she is also a walker. And then Rick comes up and shoots her, and that was the end of the episode. Wow. Yeah.
Rick's got to do what no one else can do, man. Rick's.
Well, he believes that it's his fault that this happened to her because he's the one who chased after her when they were on the side of the road. He told her to wait underneath this rock for safety, and he was going to circle back and find her. She wandered off, or maybe a walker found her, and it didn't end the way that he was hoping, so he felt guilty. So he probably assumed that he was the one that should.
Yeah, and no one else wanted to shoot a little girl walker either. I mean, I feel like there's a lot of respect for Rick in moments like that. That's why I see him as such a good leader. So one thing this show obviously touches on too is the emotional connection to the dead. I think it's something that people feel in real life, just they're not reanimated. So do you find that to be an interesting component with both Morgan and now Herschel representing how and I don't think other zombie content tends to focus on this, but representing how people might feel if a loved one became infected and the emotional torment that they might feel, quote unquote, killing the zombie version of their loved one.
Yeah, it's an interesting part of the show, and I think it's a very realistic part of the show. You know, like it'd be really hard to have to end my sister's life as a zombie or yours. Actually, no, yours would be pretty.
I like
Yours
how
would probably be pretty easy.
hey, don't cut back now. You thought of me immediately after your
No, I was thinking
closest
like
family relative.
because you were right here in front of me, and I
Don't
was
try
like, oh, what if you turned into a zombie right now? And boom, dead. Gone.
Because I'm right here. You thought of me as the hardest person to kill after your sister.
No, I was like,
let it be a sweet moment.
I was like sisters, and then shoot,
and then my brother.
What if Andrew was coming after me? You know what I would do actually? I think I would give you a few to the heart, few to the chest, you know, maybe a few to the gut. You know, and get my anger out a little bit, you know, and pent up aggression. And then once I've had my fun and gotten my therapy done, I'd finish you off there.
This guy's a psychopath. This guy's okay. So I definitely think that that's a good component of the show. I like how they touch on the emotional, dramatic aspects. Way different than I expected when I first heard the concept of the show. When I actually started watching the show, there was probably like 4 seasons out at that point.
Well, I think the show is a lot more in depth than I was expecting too, and a lot more emotional. I mean, I've obviously have heard that this was a good show, you know, but it definitely has more of a focus on the relationships and character development of so many people.
And great actors.
And I thought that it was a zombie show.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
There's really good actors portraying these emotional, dramatic moments too. I mean, Andrew Lincoln is a phenomenal actor. You know, Shane, phenomenal actor as well. I mean, we love our boy, the Punisher.
Yeah, absolutely.
But that scene is so good. The one you described where he comes out and he's like, "Can you take 2 to the chest like that?" Yeah. No.
You have a good John Berthel voice.
That's a lot of practice.
Yeah.
Rick. He's just really just doing a rasp.
Yeah.
Have you seen the part where he's running? It's a meme when he's like, "Oh, come on, Rick."
That wasn't that episode.
It might be.
Know.
It might be. I don't know.
I have to see the meme and then I could let
I'll
you know.
show it to you after.
Yeah.
Super funny. Okay, so is there any other components of the show that you want to talk about? You're in season 2. You're in time for some good stuff. Season 3 is really good.
So, what's my favorite aspect of filmmaking?
Cinematography.
Yeah, I think the cinematography does a great job of keeping us grounded with all the characters. It's got dynamic camera movement. I do enjoy the more dramatic tone of The Last of Us more, but they still portray the story really, really well. It's interesting because you can kind of see like it's just different times now in terms of like how things are being made. Like back in the 2000s, it seems like stylized lighting wasn't as much of a priority as it is now.
They were also doing like 20 episode seasons or 18 episode seasons or something, you know, every year. And The Last of Us is doing like 8 episode seasons. So it's a lot more feasible.
Know if they were that long of seasons.
Really?
Let me see.
Were they only like 12? It felt long.
Okay, so season 2 has 13. I know the first one was really quick. The first one has 6.
Yeah, the first one is short because that's the first season.
Yeah. Probably a concept.
They weren't sure how well the show was going to play for audiences, and then they knew.
The third one gets up there is at 16. I'll look at the fourth one and then we'll move on. Fourth one has 16 too. So they were getting a little bit longer as they went on.
As they knew the show was a success, they moved to having twice as many episodes a season.
Yeah.
They eventually would go on to do mid-season breaks and all these things that became very popular later seasons.
Yeah, I mean 16, that's double what The Last of Us was, you know?
Yeah.
Do you miss that with TV shows?
Absolutely, yeah.
Like TV shows, like you said, used to be 16 to 23 episodes a season. And on top of that, you get the next season the next year, sometimes even sooner than the next year, maybe 8, 9 months away. Do you miss that, or do you prefer them to be a little bit more intentional, maybe, and put more effort, more money, more time into making it better? Are TV shows better now than they used to be? I don't know. What
I
do you
miss
think?
it. I want more episodes. I mean, some of the best shows ever don't have that format, the 16 to 25 episode formats. I mean, The Walking Dead doesn't have, or I'm sorry, the Breaking Bad doesn't have 20 episode seasons. So it's not necessary to make a show good, but in terms of your average show, your fun show like Arrow used to have 20 something episode seasons. I miss that. I used to be able to just binge Arrow, and now it's so much harder to binge. It's easy because you have access to Netflix and they're going to put out their show and you can watch it instantly, but I'll be done with it in a day. It's 8 episodes. If I really want to sit down and on my Saturday and binge a show, it's done for. It's more bingeable with more content.
Yeah.
So I miss those longer seasons. I miss when we used to do that more.
Like, I've even had a hard time getting into shows that I've heard that are doing pretty good right now. Like The Penguin, I watched the first episode, got into the second episode, and then I had to leave for work, and I hadn't gone back. Agatha, same thing. I started watching the first episode, and I haven't gone back. So is it worth it for these shows to take as long as they take and to produce them as maybe like a higher quote unquote quality than they used to production wise? Which, even still, is it a higher quality production wise if before they were actually going on to all these locations and now they're not? Maybe in some situations, some cases, like,
how did that rooftop look in season 1?
good.
Yeah, looked like a rooftop.
Yeah, it looked. They were probably on a rooftop. I don't know. It looked phenomenal. It looked great.
I think the rooftop scene in The Last of Us looks good, but I think it also looks
Like they're
not on a
on a
rooftop.
stage.
Yeah, it looks like it's blue screen or
or like in The Penguin, the city looks good for the most part, but like when they're doing driving scenes, like you can clearly tell that it's CGI and not real. Nothing's like that in The Walking Dead. Everything looks so real.
They had my boy riding a horse into what I assume was a shut down street somewhere in Georgia. They filmed in Georgia for years.
Yeah, and like I said, all of the walkers look phenomenal. In some scenes, they have hundreds of them. Obviously, some of those are probably CGI, especially in the far away shots. But a lot of them aren't. All the ones that they're interacting with, I'm assuming, are real.
Yeah, when they get to hordes of big groups of walkers, sure, they're going to use special effects because that's just unrealistic to put that many people in makeup and costume.
Yeah.
Have to. But yeah, keeping it the close personal relationships, the close personal interactions with real people in makeup and prosthetics, it sells it. Sells it.
Oh, yeah. And like I said earlier, there's so many times where it's like, wow, that looked like they just threw an axe into his face, like a second ago, that was a real person. Like, how'd they do that? Or like they shoot an arrow through his head and they fall and he's like laying on the arrow, like, and his head's propped up. And it's like, that was a real guy like 3 seconds ago. Like, is that guy just sitting there with an arrow on his forehead balancing? Like, that's pretty crazy, Like, it looks so good.
That's another cool thing about the show is people having their trademark weapons. That's a staple of the zombie universe. You got
the weapon use is phenomenal in this show.
Crossbow. Rick's got his revolver.
The only thing I will complain about is their guns make no sense sometimes. They're, make sure you have the safety off. That's a Glock. They don't have safeties. What are you talking about? Or again, I don't like this when they pick up a gun and it makes a sound. It's like, what just made that sound? He just picked up a gun.
I like like I disagree with you on that. I think the sounds just sound cool.
Yeah, it sounds cool.
Gun
but
sounds.
It's kind of dumb sometimes.
It's not logical, but it sounds cool.
I noticed John Berthel. He like moves his hands a lot on the gun. And I'm like, what are you doing, man? Why are you
looking
so
for
twitchy?
something to do?
Why are you so twitchy?
I feel like the character is twitchy. He's always like this.
Yeah.
He's always
That's not a big deal,
Yeah, portray it.
Some of the actors have no idea what recoil is. Rick does a good job, but when you're sitting there and they have this huge heavy revolver and it doesn't move at all, it's like, come on, guys. Everything else looks so good. Like, just give me a little bit of a kickback, Like, it's not that hard. Even if the kickback still looks fake, at least like you're trying.
Yeah.
I don't know. It is what it
There's a
is.
scene on the farm where they're teaching them all how to shoot guns. I feel like that's probably one of the scenes that bothered you.
I was like,
Because there's a lot of the kind of more background people shooting guns. I bet that wasn't great.
yeah. But like their simulations of the gunshots and the bullets going into the walkers looks phenomenal.
You got to watch like 7 seasons so I can show you all my favorite Rick Grimes edits.
All right. I'm getting there. I'm cruising through it. Hopefully I can stay with it. I'd like to maybe watch another episode tonight after we're done filming.
Okay. Yeah.
So that's
I
that.
can't wait till you finish season 2.
Yeah. What's your favorite season that you saw?
It could be 3 or 1.
Okay.
It's one of the early seasons, but then the first season where a character named Negan shows up is also very good. So I just won't say anything else.
Okay.
The comics, I think,
Also, go ahead.
the comics stay like on a better trajectory throughout, whereas the show I feel like has ups and downs in its seasons.
Okay. Also, what is up with Daryl's hair?
Did you know he's a model?
Really?
Yeah,
I mean, he's a good-looking guy.
Norman Reedus. He was like he was a model before. I think he was an actor.
His hair is crazy. His sideburns are. It's like hair from here, but it's like down to here, but everything else is short. It's like he's got like I don't know. It's like the reverse of like what a mullet would be.
Don't question it. Don't question Norman Reedus.
All right.
There used to be a whole fan campaign.
What do I know?
I don't know if you remember, if you ever heard this, but there used to be a whole fan campaign that was like, if Daryl dies, we riot. There was like, people said, if Daryl dies, I won't watch the show anymore.
Dang, that's crazy.
Job security.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Anything else you want to talk about for The Walking Dead?
No, I'm so glad you're watching it.
I don't want any more spoilers, so we should probably
I'll
end
stop,
here.
I'll stop here. It's hard to.
Hey, did you know that this?
Going back to just season 1, do comment below and let us know what you think about The Walking Dead, what you think about the first season. Tell us your favorite season.
What other spoilers should I be aware about?
What does Aaron have to look forward to in the show? What's your favorite scene? There's some pretty big divergences from the comic, even just here in the first season. I think in terms of the comics, I think Tyrese shows up a little bit sooner, but Tyrese will be in the show later. I don't want to talk about comic differences because I stray too far into spoiler territory for you.
For sure.
Yeah.
We'll do that episode later.
When you've watched more.
Yeah. Maybe you'll finish the series.
I'll have to reread the comics.
All right. Thank you so much for watching. We post new episodes every Monday and Thursday, so make sure you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss anything, and the notification bell too, because we post extra episodes pretty frequently as well, and you don't want to miss those. Andrew, where else are we?
We're on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, X, all over social media platforms. We're also anywhere you listen to podcasts, so you can find us on Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify. Make sure to share us with a friend or family member because that is the best way to help the show grow organically. And make sure you follow us, rate and review on all of those platforms because it helps the show grow and get seen by more audience members. But if you want to join in on the conversation personally, you can join our Discord. You are going to have to pay a nominal fee.
Yeah, it's tough. Inflation's been hitting hard, and the only way we can survive is if we match that inflation. So it's a little costly, but it is worth it. It's great conversation about movies, TV shows, comics, and more, and everything else. We do debates and polls and all this stuff. But all right, I know you want to hear the price. Andrew, how much is it?
At a monthly rate of free. It costs nothing. We're not charging.
Yeah, no. we make enough money from the episodes every week. Right, Andrew?
Yeah, you have to, seriously, tell your friends to watch. My groceries are dependent on it. No, but we just appreciate you listening to the show. So don't feel obligated to do everything, but it's much appreciated if you do.
But seriously, like and subscribe.
That's enough. That's enough pandering. Yeah, thank you guys so much for watching, and that's a wrap.